when he was a celebrity and, on TV. He used to come on Fox. He was great. He was rated. He was fun to talk to. He invited me to a couple of these Celebrity Apprentice things, which I went to. He was always very gregarious. He'd walk in, he'd give you the big hug and kiss. And it was tough not to like Trump. And then he decided to run for president. And he invited me to go down to Mar-a-Lago. You've got to see it. It's so beautiful. He sent me all these pictures of it. I was like, hell no. I am not going to Mar-a-Lago. The guy is running for president. Guess what? A lot of other journalists did not make the same choice. Then he found out that I was going on a girls' trip and we were going to stay at Trump, one of his hotels. And he tried to pay for it.
Let me ask you something else that I think it just popped in my head as you were saying something. This is probably more what I would ask you offline, but we're on camera, why not? Do you, when you have all these relationships with these people, the politicians and then the other pundits and the talking heads and all of that, do you find at times it can be tough? Because this is just personally what I've found now, is that because I'm friendly at least with so many of these people and know them and have played basketball with them or had them over for dinner or whatever, sometimes there's this piece of me where I want to not criticize someone as much as I should, or I at least have to think about it in a different way, or you don't want to say something about a certain politician because then they won't do your show. Like, how do you balance all of that? Because you've been on both sides of this, mainstream and now this side. You've interviewed everybody. You basically know everybody. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about you, except maybe some people at NBC. So, how do you balance all of that and still maintain integrity?
I have very few friends. You're on a very short list, my friend.
On a short list?
You didn't realize.
Oh, that's nice.
You didn't realize how valuable this friendship was to me. No, I have a very short list. I don't fraternize with them. If they're politicians, I don't fraternize with them. I'll give you one example. I'll give you two examples. Vivek Ramaswamy first came into my life as somebody who knew Jed Rubenfeld of Yale Law School, who's a brilliant professor, and they'd been co-writing pieces for the Wall Street Journal editorial page, or op-eds, and on legal issues. And I was like, oh, these are good legal issues. They were getting at sort of the erosion of free speech. And I know Jed a bit. He's married to Amy Chua, Tiger Mom.
Right.
Anyway.
Of course, yeah. I've had her
So
on.
I knew them a little. And so I got to know Vivek, and he's writing books. I started reading his books, and he'd ask me for comment. Whatever. I know him a bit. Like him. Fine. I would fraternize with Vivek. Then he decided to run for office. It's done. It's off. We're not friends. Sorry, we're adversarial. That's the only way I can do my job, honestly. It's fine. I'm not like your enemy now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you repeatedly if you do dumb things or things I think are dumb or worthy of challenge. Not to say I'm the ultimate arbiter, but I am of my show. And it can't be that friendly anymore. It just can't be. So you kind of know he's running for office. This is not the end of our personal friendship, but it's definitely going to be on pause for a long time. And then my second example is Donald Trump. When he was a celebrity and, on TV, he used to come on Fox. He was great. He was rated. He was fun to talk to. He invited me to a couple of these Celebrity Apprentice things, which I went to. He was always very gregarious. He'd walk in, he'd give you the big hug and kiss. And it was tough not to like Trump. And then he decided to run for president. And he invited me to go down to Mar-a-Lago. You've got to see it. It's so beautiful. He sent me all these pictures of it. I was like, hell no. I am not going to Mar-a-Lago. The guy is running for president. Guess what? A lot of other journalists did not make the same choice. Then he found out that I was going on a girls' trip and we were going to stay at Trump, one of his hotels. And he tried to pay for it. He reached out to say, where are you staying? I'll take care of it. Very nice, right? In quotes.
Yeah.
It's not nice. And I said, absolutely not. Thank you very much, Mr. Trump. We'll pay for our own hotel. And I said to Abby, my assistant, make sure you hold on to the records. This is what politicians try to do. And humans try to do it too. It's one thing for Donald Trump's celebrity to try to woo me over to liking him. That's less fraught. But politician Donald Trump has to receive a hard no in response to all those overtures. And Dave, that night I went on to the debate stage, August 6th, 2015, and asked him that very hard question. There were lots of hard questions, just that one that everybody remembers. You know what I had behind my notes? In addition to my outline and my fact checks, which are 10 deep, and I was ready to back up everything I asked, I had the receipts from that Trump hotel visit and my rejection of his invitation to go to Mar-a-Lago because
you were ready.
I didn't want anybody using that against me. Same as I'll have to do it to Vivek Ramaswamy if he ever tries to say you did, like it's just, it gets very complicated when you have to cover them objectively. So I think, you either have to choose or you have to just be very open about your bias. Like I know you're a DeSantis guy. You've been open about that. So I think you're okay there. But if you have too many of those with politicians, it can get dicey quickly.
Yeah, and for sure, from my perspective, like the politician version, I don't have that much of it. I played basketball with Ted Cruz or I played video games with him. We're like some of that stuff, but we're not like friends like that. I think for me, it's more like the pundit class where I see guys that are like kind of doing what we do, and then they kind of go completely off the deep end, and I'm like, do I have to call you out? It's more that, I think, for me than
yes. Well, you have, and the answer is yes. You do.
You do.
You have
no,
to, but
I do, and like you, I have my short friend list. So,
I've got to tell you one other.
Yeah.
So, a couple years back, there's this guy. His name is Carlos Watson. He invites me to go on his YouTube show. I never heard of Carlos Watson. I'm like, who is he? Abby's like, I don't know, but you're sandwiched in between. It was like LeBron James and Bill Gates. So I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's got access to some very big names. And I don't remember what the forum was on, but it was on a big, it was like election night. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do it. She's like, he's got all these followers. His show's very successful. Okay, so I did it. Carlos was a perfect gentleman, very nice guy, solid interviewer, had a good time. Then I went on a couple more times, fine. Eventually, I'm like, you know what? I launched my show. I'm like, I'll have him on. Had him on. Very nice. Kind of cagey about like what his background was. He didn't want to talk about his life, but that's fine. Some people are like that. Then he wanted me to go to his Aussie Fest. It's like like one of those media things like Jordan has, everybody goes, okay. I'm like, I don't know. Then I see the list of everybody who's going. It's like all these amazing names, people I respect, people I know. I'm like, all right, I'll look into it. Then the next thing I see, Carlos and Aussie Media are under SEC investigation for impersonating a YouTube CEO, the officer, the chief executive or COO of the company, as Goldman Sachs was trying to figure out whether it was going to give Ozzy another business loan and wanted to kick the tires and see if those YouTube numbers were real. Well, instead of connecting them with the actual YouTube, his CFO faked being the YouTube executive, lied about their numbers. The whole thing came crashing down. It was a house of cards that was all made up. The YouTube numbers were fake. Carlos, pretty soon thereafter, was under arrest. The CFO was under arrest. Aussie Fest was off. And I'm thinking to myself, don't become chummy with any of these people. And I went out on the air and I'm like, I've got something to tell you, members of my audience. This guy who we had on not too long ago and celebrated his independent entrepreneurship, he's a fraud, according to the government and several others. Anyway, it's just the whole business is fraught. And if you become friends with me, there's a 90% chance you're going to wind up being a fraudster because that's happened to me over and over, Dave Rubin.
If you're looking for more uncensored opinions from today's thought leaders, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.